Welcome to the Concordia College Football Show with Coach Terry Heron. I'm your host, Norman Bell. First of all, congratulations, Terry, on an outstanding game from first quarter through the fourth quarter, entire game. You guys played your hearts out.
Yeah, we sure did. We left it on the field. I'm so proud of our coaching staff and our players for executing the game plan. I mean, there's so much work that goes into preparing, for any game in particular, but a team like Wisconsin-Whitewater, which does so many things, and just proud of how we fought for 60 minutes and come down to that very last play, and we made it. We made the play, and I'm really proud of a young man who you'll be chatting here with shortly with Alex Berg. I know he's his own worst critic, but he's a heck of a football player that had a tough bounce a year ago with St. Thomas, but he came back in high form to make that goal line stance and seal the victory for us.
Now, Terry, you mentioned that you schedule opponents like Wisconsin-Whitewater to get the attention of the playoff committee.
Yeah, no question about it. When you go 8-2, 7-3, 9-1. It's not easy to find non-conference games, and we can certainly go down the road 60, 70 miles and budgetarily play programs that help us out, but they're not Division III. And when we were looking at, we've been that outsider looking in. We're 40-12, and we haven't been in the playoffs these last few years. We've been 8-2, 7-3, and we just decided let's go outside the box. Let's find two Division III programs that we can play against, and like a Wisconsin-Whitewater, like a Nebraska-Wesleyan. Taking that trip's not easy. That's a 7-hour trip. It's in unfamiliar grounds like we talked about last week, and our kids, I thought, played like champions. Now, you play a heavyweight like Wisconsin-Whitewater, winners of 6 of the last 10 national championships coming to your place. The pedigree that they have is amazing. And when I went to our staff about, what do you think of this? You know what? Every single one of them says, let's do it. And our players, too. We want to see where we're at. And ultimately, we all know this because now as we start to move into the MIAC season, our non-conference prepares us for the MIAC. And that's what win or lose those games. It prepares you for what matters most, and that's the MIAC. We've 24 ruled this now. Bethel's on our mind. But it certainly was a sweet victory for our football program, and probably one of the biggest ones in 17 years that I've been here.
Wow. Well, I think you got their attention because D3.com has you ranked as the 23rd team in the country after last week's W.
That's nice to get the recognition. That's all on our staff and our kids. They play hard, but where we want to be ranked at the end of the season, we still got a long way to go, and it starts this week with Bethel.
Well, let's go ahead on and take a look at some of those first half highlights.
Big Hans Solberg, good to get him back in it, and it was a great crowd, beautiful day.
And you won the toss and elected to receive.
Yep, and that was our plan in all of this was, to start out of the gates fast, and we got a pretty good return, kind of a broken return by Jason Montoni, but we went right to work. And here's Mike on a little midline option where he picked up a big first down for us. This was a great drive. This drive went about 8 minutes and 8 seconds on 16 plays. Great little screen play to Chad Johnson there. And here's a toss to Jason Montoni, who out-leverages an outside linebacker that had the path to him, and his speed just got to the corner of the end zone. This was a huge confidence booster. This as well, as you know, down at Wesleyan, we weren't 100% flawless there. We made a big kick. It was good to see. Defensively, though, third play from scrimmage. Look at Dallas Raftevold in there making plays. We get a fumble recovery, and we're on it right there. It's Alex Berg getting the fumble, and Dallas knocked it out of his hands. And then we kick a field goal, and this was another big 3 points for us. Happy for Tony Kostelecki in making this. We had great protection. We're up 10-0 before they had their fourth play from scrimmage.
This guy was a handful.
He was a handful. He's a good athlete. They get him out in space. When you got athletes and get them out in space, good things happen. It's proud of our defense though and the effort that they gave, and we just never backed down. We just kept plugging.
And right here is a situation where you stuffed them, forced them to kick a field goal.
That's a win for us. They get 3 points on the board. That's a win. We kept 7 off the board, and that was big. Here Mike comes rolling out. just a little bit high. It was just kind of a little beat protection thing. And then, we had the fumble by Chad Johnson, and then their first play, they went to try to score on us, and Dallas made a huge pick.
Now, right there was a little controversy. I kind of slowed it down. It looked, from the way the ball came back up, that he touched it.
I thought the same. It's a tough angle, and what do? You got to live to play the next down, and they have some weapons. They had some nice pass plays they had like 5 big pass plays, and the big pass plays anything over 15 yards. Here was a little pass interference on the backside that helped us out, and certainly well defended again.
I think that's going to take us into halftime. You go into halftime with a 10-3 lead. What'd you talk about with the guys in the locker room?
Exactly. Well, we had just a great 30 minutes of football, really in all 3 phases. Our kids were into it. The effort was great. We just basically made a few adjustments here and there, but just stay with what we're doing. And we needed to come out in that third quarter, firing on all cylinders. We elected to receive to start the second half, or start the first half, so we knew we were going to kick to them. We decided to kick into the wind, just to have them go into the wind in the fourth quarter. They get a really good return. They get a 41-yard return to start the third quarter, and that's probably in the highlights here. But that's what championship teams will do. We know they're not gonna just fold on us. We knew it was going to be a 60-minute game. We still had 30 to go, and nobody remembers the score at halftime. So we knew we had a big 30 left.
When we return, we'll take a look at those second half highlights. Welcome back to the Concordia College Football Show with Coach Terry Heron. Terry, we're going to take a look at some of these second half highlights, because this was a very explosive half for both teams.
No question about it. This was a heavyweight matchup. It really was, and some big plays. And I was telling our staff, there's a lot of stalemates in these big games. There's a lot of big plays too. So here's the opening kickoff we talked about just a little bit earlier, and our 3 on that side kind of got sucked in a little bit, which made this back get outside on us, and he gets a 41-yard return, which is, we never want to see that. They made a few big plays to get themselves down into some scoring positions. I believe, is this the third down? Yeah, this right before that touchdown, they had a big third down conversion, and then they scored on the very next play. So here they kicked their PAT, and we're knotted up. And then the first play from scrimmage, we run a little counter trap, and Chad Johnson made just a huge, big-time move. He had great blocking scheme by our guys, but he's got great vision. This kid is another level type back, and that was a good punch in the teeth by us to say not today. Now, Dallas's hands were kind of bugging him a little bit. He skips the ball back in the PAT, but there's our backup quarterback, and Blake Cragness having the wherewithal to go to his release, and to Evan Defer to catch that was pretty cool. Now all of a sudden you're up 8, and then we get a little bit of a wind aid pooch type kick that almost went into our hands too. You can see how when they're stretching there, a lot of holding was going on that we weren't getting many calls until late in the game when it really mattered most.
There's a bad call, right? Well, I can't say it was a bad call. I didn't necessarily see it, but it set them up for this.
Right, and you know what? That fetch game, that's tough business out there. That's tough to defend it, and they get into the end zone. So now they're down 1. We come back with a nice little delay route to Austin Monham, who gets about a 37-yard gain on it. It was a great play call by Coach Willits. And, now we're into the fourth quarter. This is our pride quarter. We talk about this all the time. This is where you lay it on the line. And great effort by Evan Defer off the edge. It was a huge sack for us. And this, if this is the one I'm thinking, this is the 39-yard punt. Yes, huge punt by Chris Clausen. Puts him down to the 19. We get a couple holding penalties that push them back to the 5. Then we get this. Dallas Raftevold again comes up, strips the ball, we recover it, short field. A couple plays later, we're in the end zone.
Chad Johnson again.
Yep. Yep, Chad Johnson's breaking in on that touchdown record that Brett Bounty had a couple years ago. So he's in reach, that's for sure. So it's 25-17. You're in the fourth quarter. Guys are working hard. I mean, our guys are gassed. They're working on all heart right now. This is when you play athletes like this and big physical kids, and I mean that wears on you. It really does. But got to give our guys credit. We bent a little bit in this drive, but we didn't break. A couple close plays there too. Okay, here's a second down play. Gets them down to about the 1.5-yard line. So on third down, we got a little Gator package in there and stuff them well. Call the timeout. It's fourth down. We figured they were going to try to go outside. Then through the A gap, here he comes. Big number 59, and just so proud of him and how excited he is about making a play like that. And just to get a orangutan off your back always feels pretty nice. So that was a sweet win for the Cobs. And then our favorite formation, our favorite play is just to take the knee, and there was 20 seconds left. They had only 2 timeouts left. The game was over. So great victory for the Concordia Cobbers.
Definitely was. Now, did you talk to the guys after this game to let, you implement the 24-hour rule, but typically when emotions are high like this, guys kind of feel themselves a little bit. And did you talk to them to remind them, hey, we still have our conference to go?
Exactly. And when we got into the locker room and we were getting ready to sing our school song, which, by the way, still gives me chills when we sing our school song in the locker room. We just talked briefly about, that this is just one of the steps. This is the step to prepare us for our league. Our league is what matters most. And to have this win and feel good about it, so we need to celebrate it for 24, that 24-hour rule, and now we move on to Bethel.
When we return, we'll talk to linebacker Alex Berg. Welcome back. Joining me now is junior linebacker Alex Berg. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thanks for having me, Norm.
Whew, what a game Saturday, huh?
It was a crazy game. Came down to last play, but the whole team fought hard and we believed in each other. So glad we got the W, and now it's time to move on.
How tough were they a team to defend?
I mean, they had weapons all over the field. They were big up front, but we've seen that before with St. Thomas and even Bethel, our next opponent. But we know we had a great speaker in the morning, and he talked about courage. So we knew it was going to be a hard-fought game, and we just had to believe in each other.
Now, to the academic side of things, you're a business major. What are your plans after college?
So I am a business major with a concentration in management, and right now, after school plans are slowly work my way up, and then one day hopefully manage my own business.
What's the academic environment like here at Concordia?
I mean, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, the professors push you for a reason, and that's to make you a better person and get you ready for the real world. I mean, it's not just show up for class and glide through your classes and everything will be fine. You actually have to put in the work, do the reading, and they know what they're doing, and they want you to be that person that they're trying to build you to be that one day.
Now, you're a local kid. You had a brother that played here, Josh, just last year. What's it like to be able to stay home and represent your hometown, in a sense, playing college football?
I mean, it's awesome. I mean, playing with my brother last year, it was one of my big dreams to do, playing with him a year in high school and then having the opportunity to play with him in college. That was a big reason why I came here, but even just being local, it's easier on my parents, and it's just, they're great supporters and they're here for every game for me. And then my grandpa and grandma, they're also local too, so they get to make it to every game, and it's just really cool to see all the people that come and support you that you know, like came and watched you in high school, and even being from in town, the recruiting part, the kids you played underneath you, you can be a recruiting factor with them.
Now, you have the luxury of going from an outstanding player, playing alongside, an outstanding player like Hank Van Loo, to now playing alongside of another outstanding player in Andrew Thompson. There doesn't seem to be much of a fall off at all.
I mean, no, Hank was a great player and he taught me a lot, and I still carry some of his messages he told me or with me today, but him and Andrew are from the same high school, so I guess they kind of look at it, they're kind of the same person, but no, both great players. I mean, Hank, it was awesome playing with him last year, and now this year with Andrew, nothing feels different. It feels the same.
Talk about your defense as a whole. You guys return a lot of experience on defense, and it's probably the strong suit of the team. Talk about those big guys up front, how hard they play.
Oh, I mean, those guys, they make it so easy for us linebackers. I mean, they work hard day in, day out, every practice, giving it their all, and I mean, they make it easy. They take on the big linemen and open up gaps for us to shoot. If it wasn't for them, I mean, we wouldn't be having nearly the success that we are having.
Now let's talk about that last defensive play. Was that a call, or was it just something you saw and you just reacted? What went through your mind?
I mean, when they got into the 1 yard line, I know we've been there before. I told the guys, we got to dig deep, give it everything you got. I mean, we put in all that time this summer lifting and running, and it's got to pay off for something. So after we stopped them on second down, third and 1 from the 1, called a timeout, stopped them. Like, guys, dig deep. We got to dig deep. We're going to stop them. Fourth down, shot the gap, saw the running back in sight, dove for his legs, got him, and I don't know, the feeling was amazing. I mean, you looked up while everyone was celebrating, and it was just huge for the whole program. I still kind of put me in shock.
You guys played an entire 4 quarters. You finished
Yep.
an entire game. So congratulations on that.
Thank you
Excuse me.
very much.
That was junior linebacker Alex Berg. Welcome back. We're now joined by co-offensive coordinator Aaron Willits. Aaron, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me on, Norm.
So talk to me a little bit about the game plan going into this week, because they're a pretty aggressive defensive team there. What was your game plan?
You know, the first thing that we got to do is try to identify what they're going to do. And I think that's the toughest thing, you know, for us as a staff offensively is trying to play an opponent who we haven't prepared for. We got a rough idea, but nobody else does what we do. So we got to take some assumptions. You know, and fortunately they're grounded in what they do. They believe in their system, their scheme. So then we try to find our matchups. You know, where can we get our guys in space? Obviously, you know, where can we try to get Chad the football and be effective with him? And one of the things that we're, you know, constantly trying to do is be more balanced, you know, or be as balanced as we need to be successful. And I think that was probably the key to the first drive, is to come out and throw some quick hitch on first down, throw some 3-step game and keep them balanced. And I think it was 15 plays for 8 minutes there. And we were 4 for 4 on the pass on that drive. And that, you know, itself helped open up some lanes, you know, inside for the run game. You know, and then it's just a matter of settling in, seeing what they want to play as their base defense, and then finding our plays that fit and we can get yards on.
Now, running the double slot offense, it's a challenge for teams. And every week in the Division I level, you see teams that are scheduled against a Georgia Tech or a Navy. They talk about how they have to be disciplined sound, and it's just a different week of practice for them. You pose that same challenge for teams in the MIAC.
Absolutely. You know, in the MIAC, there's a lot of coaches that have been on staffs here, you know, for a long time. So they got an idea. But, you know, every year we try to find a new wrinkle, whether it be formationally or with motions, you know, a different counter or a different base play, something that just changes things up a little bit, so that way we can, you know, keep those teams on their toes. But definitely those non-conference games where they don't see us on a regular basis. Coach Kosich brings it up every week. We're the dinosaur of college football, and everybody has to sort of, you know, resort back to what we do. And there are some things, you know, it's unique, you know, but it works for us, and our kids believe in the system. They understand what we're trying to do, and you know, we have success with it.
Now, you have a fairly brand new offensive line, and they've been shuffled the first couple of weeks of the season due to injuries and other things. With 2 games under their belt, do you see them sort of gelling as a unit yet?
Absolutely. And spring ball helped. We had, all those kids for the spring when we went to Canada and took our trip up there. So they got some continuity there rather than starting just in the fall. But the injury bug has hit us, and we've had some guys step up and really fill in some spots, which has gained us some depth. Even yesterday we had an opportunity with our JV kids down at St. John's, and it was exciting to hear that the offensive line played well, because we've had a couple of those freshman kids, getting some quality reps, in our varsity side of practice, and hear those guys go down there and have the success, that's huge for our depth. But obviously when you get a guy, like Hans, back in, a guy that you recruited that you thought was going to be a really good football player, and he gets an opportunity to finally play in a game, and it's this one, and then he plays the way that he did, that just makes you more excited. And obviously, the other guys that have stepped in. Brandon Nisley's been playing really well. He gets off the ball. He's crafty, and he loves the cut block. Brandon Bungard played a great game for us. Max Nelson is our returner. And Jordan Christensen, started at right tackle for us, and he's doing it with a broken hand. A guy that is a commitment to our program, one of those guys that's been in our program for 4 years and hasn't seen a start up until then, but stayed with us, we stayed with him, and now he's out there grinding with the club on, playing against a tough opponent like Wisconsin Whitewater.
Now, I spent a lot of time in the office with you and Brian Mistro this summer, and 9 out of 10 times when I walked in there, you guys were bouncing schemes off of each other, and it got to the point to where one of you would get up and go to the board and demonstrate different things that maybe a team was doing that would be helpful to you offensively or to him defensively. How is it having a relationship with a coworker like that you guys can, on the opposite side of the ball, you can bounce things off of each other?
Brian and I's relationship's great. I remember when Coach Heron, said we were going to hire a guy that I was going to share an office with, and I was just like, you better be an all right guy. And I got Coach Mistro, and we like to joke when recruits come on campus too that, we just are coworkers and acquaintances, but our relationship goes a little bit deeper than that. We do enjoy our time outside of work. But 100%, he makes me a better coach, and I like to think, that I make him a better coach. We bounce ideas off one another. We ask, what would you do to this? Or how would you go after this? How would you attack this? And I think, that conversation that goes back and forth allows us to coach the kids better. I try to make sure that our kids understand defense is not just what we do, but understand what the defense is really trying to accomplish. So that way we can counterbalance that, and 100% that comes back to the time that I get to spend in the office with Brian and bounce those ideas off of one another.
Well, just one final note. I love the emotion that you've been putting into your pregame speeches. I think it resonates with the guys. I really do.
And I'm an emotional guy. I'm a sunglasses guy for a reason, and all my guys know that. But I care, and I think that they see that, and whether it's fiery or not, the passion of caring comes out, and I just want all the emotion for them, for me, for everybody at the game, because that's what it's about, putting it into it. I want to leave 100% drained, no different than those guys physically and emotionally on a Saturday too.
Well, good luck this Saturday, and thanks for joining me, Aaron.
Absolutely, thanks, sir.
That was co-offensive coordinator Aaron Willits.
Well, every victory is a huge one, especially coming up against an opponent who's ranked and from a powerhouse like Wisconsin Whitewater. But we schedule teams like this to get us ready for our conference, because our conference is arguably the best in D3. So to get a win like this, we know we can go throughout the whole conference now and get W's.
Welcome back. Coach, you head into conference this week facing the Bethel Royals, who has historically been a tough challenge for you.
Yeah, no question about it. Very well coached, Steve Johnson. You looked at 17 years ago when I started coaching, and there were guys like John Gallardi in the room and Steve Johnson, and guys that had 15, 20 years on me, and now it's Steve and I. We're the longest surviving coaches in the conference, but good friend of mine, always does a bang out job with his kids, and they're very well coached. This is certainly, if you wanted to have an opponent to start out your MIAC race with, to get your mind back on where it needs to be back on, especially after a win, with Wisconsin Whitewater, it's Bethel, because, we've had some heartbreak losses with Bethel. We always have tough matchups with them. Like I said, they're very well coached. They've got some great skilled kids. They got good size. This will be a tough test for us. So getting back to that emotional level, isn't always the easiest thing to do when you're dealing with 18 to 21-year-olds. Getting back to that emotional level is not easy to do when you're 51, Norm. But we're moving in the right direction, and we have a good walkthrough today to go through our stuff and to get focused up. And it's our time as a staff to get our guys glued back in on where the prize is at. And the prize is after 8 weeks from now. And you got to take it one at a time.
What type of team are they offensively and defensively?
Yeah, offensively, they're kind of back to that, they're traditional. They're an inside-outside zone team. Their stats are 50-50 right now. They got big kids up front. They got a returning quarterback who didn't play against us last year. The young man, Trey Anderson, who played against us last year, they've moved to the defensive side of the ball. He's a corner. But again, it's a typical Bethel offense. They can put up points in a hurry. They'll have gadgets, but they like a little inside-outside zone attack and some play-action stuff. And their quarterback is an athlete. He can run. Defensively, they have a new defensive coordinator. They've been kind of an odd front defense in the past and mixed some things in on us. But they're an even front defense right now, and their D coordinator came to them from Concordia St. Paul. He had about a 2-year stint with Jerry Kill at the University of Minnesota. He played at Southern Illinois when Jerry Kill was coaching down there. So he certainly has been around good football coaches. So, it's a new defense to prepare for. But our last 2 weeks we've been going up against even fronts. So we just kind of continue that theme.
It should be a good one from Jay Christensen Stadium at 1 o'clock on Saturday. For the Concordia College Football Show with Coach Terry Heron, I'm Norman Bell.